Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the season finale of The Committee Reads. I am your host, KWCs, and with me today I have Greyshot, Alex, Nagoda, and Nathis. And today we will be going over the first and last match of 2014, match 141, Gezora.
The match that... Sorry.
Gezora versus Ebirah by Christian Salibert.
I was going to say, the match that killed Christian and Tom.
Hooray. More on that later. Just relax, will you, Doc? The young man kicked back in his chair, resting his hands on the back of his head as the vessel sped through the waves of the Caribbean Sea, a few miles from the islands. Smell that fresh sea air. No, I will not just relax, the whiny doctor of Dr. Mendel Craven protested. Every time you tell me to relax, I end up getting chased by something trying to turn me into an all-you-could-eat Craven buffet. Randy Hernandez looked at his companion for a moment, then rolled his eyes. Whatever, pal. Enjoy your stress. Craven shook his head at the young man as he fiddled with Nigel, running a systems check to make sure the machine was operating at optimum capacity. Suddenly, the robot raised its arm, crying out in a gruff, pirate-like voice. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Craven's eyes were like daggers to Randy as his creation sang on. Randy couldn't help but chuckle. What? Absorbent and yellow and porous is he? Oh, forget it, Craven sighed as he continued to work on Nigel. I guess this mission just has me on edge. I still can't believe Nick sent us to check out a lead on a possible new mutation to even send Zilla with us. You know the boss man said this was probably just a wild goose chase, Randy reminded him. If he didn't think it was worth waking the Z-Man up for this, waking up the Z-Man for this is probably going to be one boring trip. Probably, Craven sighed again. Nigel raised his head and looked at his creator, then began singing in a voice of a little happy girl. Be optimistic. Don't you be grumpy. When the road gets bumpy, just smile and be happy. I don't know the song. Craven looked at Randy, surprised and confused. You programmed him with Shirley Temple?
And that explains why.
Okay. Randy's face looked slightly red. He cleared his throat. I don't remember that one. Craven was about to retort when suddenly the heat seeker shook. The portly man's eyes widened. What was that? I don't know, Raven said. Maybe we hit some coral or something. He looked down at the sonar and his eyes widened as well. Crap. Looks like an alien or something. What? Craven cried. Pass.
Before the conversation could continue any further, the large tentacles began to rise on either side down around it. Gah! Squids! Craven shrieked, his mind returning to the giant cephalopods that were nearly the end of him and Elsie in Jamaica. Relax, Doc, Randy cried, leaping to the ship's controls. Everything's under control. In an instant, the heat seeker shot off at a full speed, narrowly avoiding getting ensnared by the tentacles. I hate squids, Craven said, shuddering as the memories of his initial encounter with the giant sea creatures coursed through his mind. It can't be the squids, Randy mused. Between Zilla and Xerex, those things are toast. Setting the ship on cruise control, the two stepped out of the control room and looked back at the tentacles, which were a good distance away now. As the tentacles got higher and higher out of the ground, so did something else. A huge, bulbous form, far larger than any giant squid Craven encountered before. As the water fell away, revealing the rising form, two bulging eyes stared back at the retreating heat seeker. Its large
head tilting.
Its large head tilting backwards out of the waves. The massive creature let out a high-pitched shriek. Irritated, its prey escaped. Gezora? Craven cried out. Oh, geez, Randy groaned. We got worked up over that stupid thing? Excuse me, Craven glared at Randy in disbelief. That thing almost dragged us under. Randy gave his older colleague an exasperated look. Craven, trust me, if it's one thing I know, it's that Gezora is the slowest kaiju on the planet. Seriously, I'd honestly be more concerned if Minya showed up. Craven.
All right.
Craven. I mean, he's not wrong at this point. At this point, he was a joke in the KWC. Craven grumbled under his breath as he turned his head, looking behind the ship. At least we're safe now, and I guess he is too slow to catch us from afar. Exactly, Randy reassured him, placing a hand on Mendel's shoulder. There is no way on earth that overgrown calamari is going to get us from here. Suddenly, another high-pitched screech pierced the air, catching the two scientists off guard and causing them to clap their hands over their ears. This one did not come from Gezora, and the fact it was much closer. It was in fact much closer. The two of them ran to the edge of the ship and looked off the heat seeker's prow. A large, bulky form raised itself out of the water. "Ha!" Randy cried, pumping his fist into the air. "The Z-Man, right on!" Unfortunately, the young man's statement was proven wrong, causing him to trail off mid-sentence. The rising form lifted its arms. Two large claws held high in the air. Water rushed off the form's spiky red shell, revealing massive, monstrous crustacean.
Pass. All right.
Oh, my turn. Ebirah! That's probably a good voice. But still, Craven cried out, fully absorbed by his panic now. Well, crap. Randy wasn't too far behind him, though he at least retained enough of his faculties to get the wheel and turn the ship in another direction. Ebirah made a grab for the craft, but the heat seeker just narrowly avoided destruction, turning at the very last second, just as Randy and Craven began to sigh in relief. They started to scream once again as they realized the ship was once more heading directly towards Gezora. "Geez, give me a break, will ya?" Randy groaned as he spun the wheel once again, the heat seeker just barely dodging getting ensnared by one of the cuttlefish's tentacles. Gezora raised his tentacles in anger, his prey once again having escaped him. After a moment, Randy brought the heat seeker to a halt. What are you doing?" Craven shrieked. "Get going! If Gezora doesn't catch us, Ebirah will. I don't want to be seafood. Randy turned to look at Craven, a smirk on his face. "Don't worry, Doc. I've got an idea." I can't do a voice. "I've got a bad feeling about this," Nigel commented in his best Harrison Ford impression. As the heat seeker sat there, unmoving, both sea creatures advanced, ready to claim the ship as their own. Waves splashed about as Ebirah sped through them, making a beeline for the vessel. Gezora, meanwhile, waved his two main tentacles high in the air, wading through the water. Randy, for the love of Stephen Hawking, go, Craven pleaded. "Wait for it," Randy said, more to himself than to his teammate. It all happened in almost an instant. Ebirah pulled himself up out of the water and raised his right arm, wringing his claw down towards the ship. At the same time, Gezora lashed out with his left tentacle, swinging it toward the craft, ready to bash a hole through its side. It's then that Randy sent the heat seeker into overdrive, sending Craven and Nigel crashing into the nearest wall as the ship blasted out of the way, causing the two monsters to accidentally strike one another. As if they hadn't even noticed one another yet, the two beasts reeled back in surprise and anger, startled by the sudden appearance of the other and blaming each other for the loss of their meal. Screeching angrily, Ebirah lunged, only for Gezora to grab his tentacles around the lobster's claws, holding them shut. Rubbing his head, Craven looked up and realized that the two creatures were now fighting each other. He turned and looked to Randy in shock. "You did that on purpose?" Randy shrugged, grinning. "What can I say? It just came to me." Craven huffed, crossing his arms. "You've been hanging out around Monique too much." Ebirah shook his arm about vigorously, trying to dislodge Gezora's tentacles, but the colossal cuttlefish refused to let go. Unable to pull himself free, Ebirah moved closer and began slamming his closed pincers against Gezora's massive head. His two main limbs already being used to hold Ebirah's claws shut, Gezora was unable to do anything but get clobbered over and over again. I mean, he has 6 legs. Finally, the blows became too much for the cephalopod, and he released Ebirah's arm, falling back. His arms now free, Ebirah cried out and waved them about in pain, feeling the icy sting of Gezora's freezing grip on his claw. With his foe distracted, Gezora attacked again, bashing Ebirah's face with his right tentacle, sending the crustacean staggering back. The armored creature momentarily stunned, Gezora moved in, ensnaring Ebirah's legs with his smaller tentacles. You know, when you think about it, Ebirah's kind of at a disadvantage here because cuttlefish eat crabs and lobsters.
Mm-hmm.
The crustacean shrieked as he felt Gezora's limbs wrap around his legs and start to tug, his armored joints already starting to pop. With a loud, sickening crunch, one of Ebirah's legs was torn from his torso, and the massive shrimp screeched in pain. Before another of his limbs could be torn asunder, Ebirah lashed out with his large claw, clamping it shut, and chopping off Gezora's left tentacle. Letting out a ringing scream, Gezora pulled away, blue blood spurting from his tentacle stump. Hey, Gezora's royal blood! Turning around, Ebirah slapped Gezora with his tail, knocking the cuttlefish off his quote-unquote feet, and sending him toppling over into the water. When his foe failed to emerge from the waves, Ebirah assumed he had won and turned around, ready to track down his earlier prey. Unfortunately, Ebirah had not won. He realized this as he felt Gezora's icy cold tentacles wrap around his tail and pulling him down underneath the surface. Ha! Randy crossed his arms as he watched the two sea monsters sink beneath the waves. I can't tell who's winning. Can you?
Pass.
Pass.
Alright, good. Nethys, you up? I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you, boy.
Cares.
Okay, there you
Under the
go.
water. Under the water, Gezora pulled his crustaceous opponent towards him, ready to attack again. Ebirah tried to dislodge himself and swim away. Gezora's grip was tight, and attempts were futile. Able to free himself, Ebirah reached out with his claw, sent a large rock off the ocean floor. As soon as he was within range, he turned around and swung his arm forward, slamming the boulder into Gezora's face. Directly between the eyes. Dazed, the multi-armed creature released his grip on the mammoth lobster. Ebirah tried to attack with the rock once again. This time, Gezora wrapped a tentacle around the defending arm and tugged down, slung Ebirah headfirst into the rocky bottom. The sudden blow stung the sea monster, causing him to drop the rock and float motionless for a moment, leaving Ebirah behind. Gezora rose to the surface, screeching as he approached the Heatsier yet again. Randy! Relax, Doc. Randy casually strolled over to wheel as Gezora slowly made his way towards the ship. Triggering the ignition key, Randy's smug look quickly disappeared from his face. Crap. Craven's near snapped his neck when he turned to stare at his teammate. Crap? What crap? No crap, Randy. Gezora got closer and closer to the ship, his tentacles outstretching. My earlier trick must have recondensed and it won't start. Randy tried starting the heat seeker over and over. Kind of do it, Captain. Nigel cried it in a thick Scottish accent. Don't have the power. Gezora swung his right tentacle toward the heat seeker, just narrowly avoiding the ship. Craven dove into the nearest quarter. I don't want to die. Randy gulped as he watched Gezora closer to him. The Z-Man right on time? He tried. The young man's prayers were answered, but not in the way he had hoped. Just as Gezora was about to snare the heat seeker with his icy tentacle, Ebirah's claw sliced through his massive head and burst out his left eye. Oh my god! Streaking wildly, Gezora backed away from the ship. His tentacles flung about in agony. Drawing his pincer, Ebirah screeched in celebration as his main foe fell back, spilling blood from his wounds, clapping his claws in victory. Ebirah watched as Gezora sank between the waves, staining the water with his blood. Woo! Randy sighed, wiping his brow. That was close. Ebirah turned back to face the heat seeker and began to advance. Oh, right.
Pass.
As microstate, pass.
All right, Alex, finish us off.
Wait. Now what? Craven cried. That won't hold him for long.
Alex,
Randy's
as the
mine.
mighty crustacean.
What?
As the mighty crustacean reached the ship.
Oh, damn. As the mighty crustacean reached the ship and lifted up out of the water, Randy frantically searched at a supply box as Craven panicked. Finding what he was looking for, Randy ran to the edge of the ship and placed the flare gun into the air, firing it at Ebirah's eye stalks. The ball of fire burned at Ebirah's eyes, causing the Titanic shrimp to reel back, waving his claws back in the air. Now what? Craven cried. That won't hold him for long. Randy's mind raced as he tried to come up with a plan. Oh, forget it. Craven grabbed his remote control unit and began inputting a series of orders. Forgive me, Nigel. A moment later, Nigel rolled off the side of the heat seeker, plunked down into the ocean waves, reconfiguring itself into aquatic mode. Made a beeline for Ebirah and started to swim around him. Why you? Your mother was a seafood platter and your father was a bowl of drawn butter. Robot did its best to shake its equivalent of fist at the sweet sea monster as it circled him. The light and heat from the flare having dispersed, Ebirah quickly caught sight of the circling yellow machine, reached out, snatching him up in a large claw. Release the Kraken, Nigel declared. Man, that was some cringe. Moments before, being crushed by Ebirah's vice-like grip. Well, that didn't last long, Randy grumbled. Gar immediately turned his attention back to the heat seeker and was looming over it within seconds, raising his right arm as he prepared to smash it to bits. So long, cruel world, Craven cried as he fell to his knees in despair. Bye, Randy, I've always sort of liked you. Randy shot Craven a look just seconds before Ebirah's claw punctured the boat, destroying one powerful blow, or at least it would have. As Ebirah went to swing his arm down, he found it pulled backwards and away from the heat seeker by a gray, icy tentacle. Randy and Craven watched as more tentacles ensnared Ebirah from behind as Gezora rose up, behind pulling himself onto Ebirah's back. And ending the KWC on a high note with the hentai. Though Ebirah had skewered his head, he had miraculously avoided any major organs, blinding Gezora on the left side, but accomplishing little else. His arm unable to reach his foe, Ebirah flailed his claws about futilely, helpless to reach Gezora as the cuttlefish wrapped his tentacles around Ebirah's torso. Again and again and again, Ebirah tried to dislodge his dagger, only for a loud sickening crack to fill the air. Ebirah cried out in agony as Gezora's beak pierced the shell and began to feast on the soft flesh. Crustacean struggles gradually became weaker and weaker until Ebirah and Gezora eventually sank beneath the waves. The last the two teammates saw of them, they watched as a satisfied look crept over Gezora's remaining eye. After a brief moment of holding their breath, Raven and Craven collapsed onto the deck, exhaling loudly from the really loud sex they just had. After a moment, Randy turned to face his lover. Well, that was fun. Craven whimpered as he held his face in his hands. I want to go home. Winner, Gezora.
Alright. So, Grey Shot, since you're still here, give us your thoughts real quick, because I know you have to go. So.
Damn.
Grey Shot?
He wants to go home.
Uh-oh.
Did you not read the end of the story?
Wow, Grey Shot must have forgotten to go off call. He's still there.
No, I'm back. I'm back. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I just was Mitos.
Alright.
Regardless, I honestly like that. The you don't see the two one. It was really entertaining to watch their interactions. I personally found it very funny with like Randy and Craven's interaction. The fight was okay. I thought actually the dialogue between the two were the better, more funny part. And that's actually, I give that a compliment, especially compared to the previous match. But yeah, no, it's still a lot of fun. This match, I was thoroughly enjoyed by this, or thoroughly enjoyed it. And I would say that, shockingly, it's kind of a fitting conclusion, considering because Gezora is like the joke of the KWC. Having him not be is like, I don't know, a fitting end.
It's an ironic end.
Yeah.
So
agreed on that one.
Yeah. Did you have anything else to add on, or did you feel like you kind of...
Nope, that's it for me.
I would actually have to concur with Grey Shot. This is actually a really enjoyable match. I think the fighting's on point. Both monsters feel decently utilized. And I like the human segment for this. I know there's a chat discussion just going on about how Heat's overused, but I think this is a much better... I like the fact that it wasn't taking itself too seriously. I like the fact that it was just allowed to just let these two characters play out, have fun. Like, I have a feeling if Nick were here, it would probably weigh it down. So I'm glad it was just Randy, Nigel, and Nick. Wait, Randy, Nigel, and Craven. I'm sorry. I am glad it was just relegated to just those three and allowed to be a much lighter, more comedic match. I think a lot of the jokes kind of worked. I did not mind the jokes here. I feel like the humor was well implemented. It fit the characters, and it was just appropriate. And I like the fact that it was Craven that... I don't know how many times he does this in the series. It's been a bit, but I like the fact that it was Craven. I was like, I'm going to have to destroy you. I like it was deliberate as opposed to accidental. That's nice. That is nice. So, yeah, this was an all-around really fun, lighthearted match. A weird, probably not one you would think would be the conclusion to the Tom Christian era. Like, there could have been something more epic to go out on, but I think in hindsight, it is sort of like a a weirdly satisfying conclusion, I guess, with the hindsight we have, especially with, like, Gezora, the joke of the KWC, getting his, like, I think a second win at this point.
Yeah. It's also kind of funny, the back rest. Because, like, everyone joked, like, Gezora getting the win killed the KWC.
yeah, there was that joke. Yeah, there was that. It was like, Gezora's victory killed the KWC. It was too much. So, yeah, I think this is a really good match. Christian, I think, did a really solid job, and yeah, I think this one works out really nicely. I think it's probably one, like, not one of his best, mind you, but I think it's above average. I think this is a very solid match. So, all right, Alex, what'd you think of it?
It's a fitting end to this era, not because it's good, but because Gezora won. That's all I have to say.
Gezora winning is the fitting conclusion for this era of the KWC. That is very... No matter what side you take on, that is the truth. Nagoda, what'd you think of the match?
Usually I'm one for story-related stuff, but it kind of felt like didn't really need them there. So I guess it kind of helped flesh out the match a bit more. One thing I'd like to point out, how did the two monsters not notice each other? It's not even if you look at the banner, it's not even a stormy day. It's just kind of cloudy. They both aiming for the same ship. One of them is underwater swimming. One is on top of the water, keeping it up. Why is there giant tentacles over there? Or the other one, what is that thing underwater speeding towards me? Then again, I guess Gezora is a bit dumb, so. As for the banner, good use of those two images, the two generic Gezora and Ebirah images that everyone has. Or one of the only few for Ebirah in this case.
I do have to say, I don't know if this is just me, but it only took me until, like, semi-recently to realize that the heat ship is, like, something pulled from the show. Have you guys ever noticed that? Like, that's the heat ship from the show, an animated thing in a banner.
Damn.
Do you know how hard it is to find a ship that looks like that?
Oh gosh, no. I had totally imagined, like, I tried making a realistic version once and failed horribly. So I do not blame them.
Bad.
Right. But the fact I've never noticed that with this banner until recently, I think kind of says something, because I think like all the other elements are applied with like realistically, like, you know, I think because the ship is also like at least decently detailed to where it's not immediately obvious. I think it had it been any other angle, it would have been more obvious, but having it be dead center from the front helped. I do have to say the banner is probably one of the lesser ones by comparison. I think the splashing effects feel a little weak. I think if those were just a little bit more frothy or foamy, I think I would have been alright with it. Other than that, the image composition's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd also like to say, apparently, according to perspective on this banner, the Heatseeker is the same size as the two monsters.
To be fair, 50-meter days. Keep that in mind.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows for sure, dudes. Though it's still abnormally big, even if these were 50-meter scaled monsters. Alright. Nat, did you, or was that all you wanted to say, Nagoda, or?
Oh yeah, that was it for me.
Nat, what'd you think of the match?
Back in my day, Gezora killed the KWC. and damn straight, we were mad.
Damn.
Once again, it's a match, but I did like the part when Gezora got his...
Gezora? Who the fuck says it like that?
He does.
Wait. That's not how it's pronounced.
Gezora.
No, it's Gezora.
Gezora got his head punctured by Ebirah.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was brutal. So.
Damn.
But I'm also shocked that Gezora took the win and then went on to fight his greatest opponent, the KWC updating for a while. In turn, Gezora violated the Geneva Convention and was prohibited from ever winning again. And those are my thoughts on this match.
I'm pretty sure Gezora got another win.
I'm sure he does, but that
not canon.
that'll be
doesn't count.
That'll be for the future.
Unless I see Gezora kill Shin, Heisei, and Legendary in one match, no one counts for him.
Gosh darn it. In the meantime...
Yeah, but show mama.
In the meantime, though, I think that's what we had to say for 141, and we will be wrapping up this season of the Committee Reads. However, I fooled you all into believing that this was the season finale, for we have one more little video cooking up before the behind-the-scenes hits store shelves. I meant YouTube.
Oh, sweet. I'll break some profit.
Yeah, boy. Anyway, we have one more video coming up for you next week, and that's going to be the top 10 KWCs of the Tom Christian era. And we will see you guys over there next week for the official Season 10 finale. Till then, everyone.
Damn.
Save us before KWCs kills us in this.
Get back here!